First round of negotiations between Chad's Transitional Military Council and representatives of armed groups set to start in Qatar have been delayed. The talks in Doha have been delayed by 48 hours. The talks mark a critical passage in the country's transition towards elections. Journalist Jon Offei-Ansah is the founder and publisher of Africa Briefing, a pan-African news magazine based in London. He joins us now to talk a little bit more about this. Thank you so much for speaking to us, John. Just how much of a huge blow is it to the peace talks?
Say again, please.
Just how much of a blow is it to the peace talks, the delay?
Well, it's not much of a blow because the main rebel movement, FACT, F-A-C-T, they are laying down some conditions, before they will sit down, to dialogue with the Transitional National Council.
Okay. So what will be the effect of this? Because there's a sense by some that this means that positions will harden the longer it takes to reach a definite democratic transition, that there's a danger in that.
Yes, people are, the rebel groups, especially the main rebel group, FACT, F-A-C-T, are digging their heels in because last November, the Transitional National Council offered amnesty and pardoned and released some rebel soldiers, from prison, but excluded those from FACT. So, and again, FACT is also insisted that Qatar, where the meeting is taking place, Qatar should not be a facilitator, but be a mediator. So I think these are some of the conditions they want to be met before they sit down to dialogue with the Transitional National Council.
So let's just start there. The role of Qatar, mediator versus facilitator, the importance of that, and what has been Qatar's role?
Well, I think Qatar will have no choice but to agree to FACT's demands to be a mediator instead of a facilitator, because being a mediator means that any agreement, that they reach will have to be adhered to, so that it will make both sides make a commitment to adhere to all those agreements or any agreement that will be arrived at.
Let's talk about the other demands that are being made. Which do you think would be, in the short term, able to be achieved through the talks, and which would be a lot more mid-term and long-term?
Yes, they are demanding the return of combatants, to Chad. I mean, most of these combatants are mostly based in Libya and Sudan, and they also want the release of about 300. Armed prisoners. Like I said earlier, all the armed prisoners, they want them to be released and offered complete amnesty. So these are some of the two key demands being made by FACT. So if these demands are met, then I think the way will be open for a full dialogue.
And there's also the issue around the combatants' return to Chad. That is also on the table. Let's just focus on that and what the effect of that will be.
Well, the effect, like I said earlier, the effect will be that FACT, the main, rebel group, if these combatants are released, I think it will give much confidence to the whole process that the TNC, the Transitional National Council, are acting in good faith. But if they are not, then the FACT rebel group will doubt the sincerity of the Transitional National Council. So this is a very key sticking point that needs to be addressed.
I believe that there is also the matter of the TMC raising the issue of a leaked phone conversation with the Union of Resistance Forces rebel group. A bit of background into that and why it's important.
Yes, I mean, it was a late conversation between some of the groups that they would like to hire mercenaries from Russia. So again, that has also sort of thrown the spanner into the works of the whole process. So I believe that if the rebels get the assurance that this will not happen, I think the way will be paved for the dialogue to take place.
We spoke about the fact that there was a demand that Qatar needs to clarify its role and why it should be mediating or facilitating the talks. Then why would Russia have interest, and is it confirmed that Russia does indeed have interests?
Well, not that Russia has interest, but look, we all know about this the Wagner Group, the Russian Wagner Group. I mean, which basically is a mercenary organization. I mean, they are very active in Central African Republic as well as other African countries, and there are rumors that they are also operating in Mali. Okay, so I mean, they are not moving in unilaterally. I think the Chad government or one of the is rather inviting them, to get involved in the fight against the Islamists. So if the rebels get the assurances that this will not happen, I think it will bode well for the impending dialogue.
I mean, we are talking about the greater safety of the Sahel region. And I think you did mention at the beginning that France has been there for a very long time. So there would be a great deal of regional interest. What would be the push-pull factors?
Chad, under the late President Idriss Deby, was very active, in the fight against the Islamist insurgency in the region, in the Sahelian region. Very active. I mean, contributed a lot of soldiers, to help the Western forces, I mean, France, US, and other forces fighting the insurgency. So the West tend to turn a blind eye, even when Idriss Deby was killed on the war front, right? And his son, Muhammad, was put in charge, was made the interim president. Instead of the speaker, according to the constitution, the speaker should be the president. But his son Muhammad was made the president. The West turned a blind eye because the West find Chad very, very useful in the fight against the Islamic insurgents in the Sahelian region.
What would be the West's point of view of how these negotiations proceed? And I dare use the term how sincere they are, because there are those who are saying let's wait and see about how serious the players are in the negotiations and how sincere. What would be the litmus test for, quote unquote, the West on what would be the seriousness of it? Because there are those who are critical that with all the coups that we saw in the region, Kaka's appointment, there was very little said about it, even though that it was against the constitution.
Well, the West actually will they have an interest, to see that the negotiations are successful, right? Because, look, they've been in the France, and I think US forces and some UN soldiers have been in the Sahel for a very long time, fighting these Islamic insurgents, right? So it would be in the West's interest, for these negotiations to start, and again to see it to a successful end. Okay, so after all, the West is tired. I mean, look, their soldiers are there, so they would like to withdraw if peace is restored, order is restored in the Sahelian region. It is to the West's advantage.
Perhaps for our viewers who aren't familiar with the conflict in Chad and how long it's been raging, just a background of what this means for the people of Chad, the prospect of peace, especially against the background of numerous reports of human rights violations.
Yes, I mean, things worsened when after the overthrow of Muammar Gaddafi in 2011, right? When, arms became so cheap, filled all over the place, and some insurgents who were in Libya started coming southwards towards the Sahelian region. So some countries in the Sahelian region, we have Mali, we have Burkina Faso, we have Niger, so on and so forth. And Chad is one of those. So the whole thing is that both, even Chadians, the Chadians, the people of Chad themselves are tired. They would like to see a cessation, to hostilities, for, resources to be diverted to more productive sectors of the economy to the country. Because Chad is one of the most impoverished countries in Africa, right? So if this insurgency is over, I believe the government and also there'll be more peace, more security, and also at least resources will be better utilized, for the betterment of the whole population.
Thank you for your time. That's where we're going to leave it. Journalist Jon Offei-Ansah, he is the founder and publisher of Africa Briefing, a Pan-African news magazine based in London.